very, very quickly, and they need to look at their situation behind the scenes before they come back on the market. I think people panic. They think banks are going away. We've been there before, and banks then went under. So I think it just causes panic, and I really want to get that message across that it's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah, it makes sense when you explain it like that, that actually they're just taking their time to recalculate, and then they'll be coming back with their products. But in the meantime, do you think other lenders follow suit? Should we expect to see this a bit more and not be alarmed?
Yeah, we're already seeing it today, and we're seeing big queuing systems with other lenders. Some lenders are cutting rates midway through the day when they feel they've had enough appetite for lending. I think what banks have experienced is they've had too many applications go through. That affects service levels, and it's too much business. They don't want as much business as that. So they're doing the right thing. They're being sensible. Everything has a strategy. Everything is thought through, and it is to protect the consumer as well.
It's good to remember that, isn't it? So if you are on the phone to your lender right now, you can't get through.
Yes.
What would you advise? Should you keep trying or just press pause on it for the minute?
Yeah, it really depends why you're calling your lender. There's lots of mortgage brokers out there who you can pick up the phone to now and ask the same questions. So it really depends. There are big hold times with them just because they're busy. So you could keep on hold, but there are other people you can speak to.
Yeah, brilliant advice already, Sarah. Right, let's go to some social questions.
Okay.
Becky has tweeted us to say, my current fixed mortgage rate ends on the 1st of November. She asks, am I going to have a problem getting a new fixed deal with the same lender?
No, hopefully not. Ideally, I would have been talking to Becky about 6 months ago. But absolutely, lenders will still switch your deals for you. But I would encourage her to look at what else is on the market, because there's lots of options, and it's a good time to renew everything and have a really good look at your mortgage and what can be done. So, but yes, don't panic.
And Theo has got in touch to ask, I have 2 years left on my fixed rate. Is there anything I should be doing to fix it for longer now?
A lot of people are asking us. It's probably my number one question. Theo will have an early repayment charge to come out of that fixed rate, and that is probably likely to be quite high. So we wouldn't often say pay the early repayment charge and fix the rate for longer, but I would still have a conversation with him about that, about his individual circumstances, and reassure him. But more often than not, the answer is no. Stay on your fixed rate, especially if it's good. Keep it, because it's probably about 3% lower than he'd get at the moment. So even with the fee, you know, he'd be paying an awful lot more straight away rather than waiting 2 years and enjoying the rate he's on now.
Yeah, I mean, how high could interest rates go, do you reckon?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I like to think that the industry, you know, it's a very resilient market. It's a very resilient industry. What comes up does come down, and it does move in cycles. We've seen interest rates as high as 15% in the past. So for some people, they say, oh, what's the big deal? You know, this isn't anything like it was before. But we have to have empathy for those households out there who are still experiencing hundreds of pounds difference a month. So I don't know, is the honest, and I don't want to be soon to say, because I'll probably be wrong. I wish I had a crystal ball.
I know you talk quite openly about this situation that many people are going through, and initially seeing it as either black or white, you know, from two extremes. But I know the message you want to get out there is actually there are many options in the middle, and it's remembering that, isn't it?
It is. I think when we're in a fear response, that is what we do. You know, we're wired that way, and it's for survival. But we're here to fill in the blanks in the middle. There is lots you can do. If you really are going to struggle to make your mortgage payments, that's the number one priority. Don't lose sight of that. You need to keep up your repayments, because the long-term effect of that on the market and on your household is worse than if you ask for help. You can extend your term potentially, you could release some equity, you could do a secured loan, you could potentially look at interest only. There's all sorts. It would be, I'd need a lot longer to tell you all the options. So hopefully that reassures people that there is so much more that you can do. It's not just, I can pay my payment and keep my house, or I can't and I'm going to lose my home. And that's the big message that the headlines aren't necessarily getting across.
Yeah, it's remembering that, isn't it? And remember, if you have got any calls, please do get in touch with us. The number is 027 862 2222. Now, we've got a question from Ray. Ray asks, when you take out a mortgage, your provider either uses funds from their own savings or they borrow at a lower fixed rate to what you will pay them. So why does our rate rise every time the Bank of England increases their rates?
I think Ray sounds like he's on a tracker rate or a variable rate if his actual mortgage rate is going up every time the Bank of England rate rate rises. So my first piece of advice to Ray is get yourself on a fixed rate. That's always what we try to say to people, because at least you know what you're paying, you know what you're budgeting each month. But he is right, everything is linked. It's not as simple as Bank of England goes up and all the interest rates rise. It affects swap rates. That's what banks, use to base their interest rates on, and everything is linked in the whole world. It's not just the UK. Globally, everything that happens here affects other markets too, and this is no different.
Thinking about switching, people are asking if they're on tracker mortgage or make variable repayments. What advice would you give them today?
I would encourage them to fix their rate.
Yeah.
People are looking for certainty, and that gives them certainty of their repayments. Tracker and variable rates mean it will move with the market, which means every time Bank of England meet, you're going to be anxious. Every time the headlines hit, you're going to be worried for your own repayments. So I would encourage people to fix, be prepared, know what you're doing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we're not in a traditional time, they're not normal times, so it's not necessarily the type of advice you might give, at a different time. So it's really focusing on what works now for you. We've actually got a caller on the line, Madeline from Gloucestershire. Hi, Madeline. Oh, I think she's disappeared, not to worry.
I think my question is that there are no deals at the moment. They've all been pulling the deals, and this is my daughter's mortgage that I'm talking about. It's not up for renewal until January, but they're thinking, should they just look and find the best of a bad lot now, or wait and see what happens if more deals come on the market? They will be in a penalty situation if they renew in January until July of about £800, but we're thinking maybe they should bite the bullet, pay that penalty. Just worried that rates are really going to take off and it's going to become almost unaffordable.
Yeah, it is so hard. I think you can hedge your bets and book a rate now. There are still lenders out there, so they haven't all been pulled. I want that message to be clear. There are 3 or 4 banks, and there are a few more today, but there's still lots of mortgage products out there that she can choose from. I would say if there is a potential fee, that she can weigh that up once she knows what the rate looks like and once she's booked something. And it's also worth mentioning if in that 6 months you do find a better rate or rates go down, hopefully that would be nice, she can change it. So she's not locked in until the day it switches. So I would say get yourself to a mortgage broker or get her to speak to one, and then get her to look at what's actually on the market at the moment.
Madeline, thank you so much for your call. We've also got Lorenzo from East Sussex. Hi, Lorenzo.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you with us. What's your question for Sarah?
The question is, Sarah, I've only got 9 years left to pay my mortgage, but unfortunately, due to ill health, I've had to go on universal credit, and I don't have a steady income. But it's been okay. I've been paying it, but the last month it's gone up, 3 times, and I feel that I'm struggling. I'm on a variable rate now. Is it wise for me to look for another mortgage rate, or should I just hold and wait and see what happens?
I can appreciate your position is slightly different, but there are lenders out there, Lorenzo, who will use universal credit as income. So I would certainly encourage you to look at whether you can borrow your mortgage balance and get yourself on a fixed rate, because the variable rate, I hate to see people on it because it's extremely high. It's only going to go up.
Yes, it is.
And at least you'll know where you stand. So previously, universal credit was very difficult to get a mortgage with, but you can do it now. So I would say let's have a look at that and see if we can actually get you a fixed rate, because that would be the best advice for you.